What's going on, everybody? So in this video, I'm gonna share with you 5 cold calling techniques that you can use to start turning total strangers into paying customers. And you wanna make sure you watch this video until the end, because if you ever struggled with cold calling, or when you cold call people, you don't feel confident and people hang up on you, well, I'm gonna give you some of my best tips you can use to start getting results right away. Now, before we go ahead and get started, make sure to give this video a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications if you wanna see more sales videos like this, and let's go ahead and dive right in. Now, the first tip that I have for you when it comes to cold calling is you're gonna want to build rapport with tonality. Now, rapport is essentially when you are getting someone to like you, right? Because people buy from other people that they like, that's a given. Now, how you're gonna be able to do that on a cold call is all about using your tonality. You see, when you're cold calling someone, they have no idea who you are, they don't know why you're calling, they don't know what value you bring, so the only way to get them to like you as a person, especially in the first 5 seconds, is all about your tonality, and that is how you sound, okay? So in the beginning, it's not really about the words you say. It's not about what script you have. It's about the tonality of your voice. Because I can give someone this perfect cold calling script, the perfect opening line, right? I can give that to one person, and I can give that same exact thing to another person, and just purely based on how these two people sound and how they're different, they might get totally different results. So if somebody, comes in like, "Hey everybody, my name's Patrick Gang. Can I talk to you about this and that and that?" Well, I mean, obviously I'm over exaggerating, but if somebody talked like that over the phone, automatically you're just gonna be turned off because it's not a pleasant voice to hear. It doesn't sound like this person is very confident, and it doesn't really feel like you should do business with this person or listen to what they have to say, right? Now, if I just spoke normally like I normally do and say, "Hey, how's it going, John? This is Patrick from Microsoft. Do you mind if I take a second to tell you why I'm calling?" And they're a lot more likely to probably listen to me just purely based on my tonality, right? And this is just a human thing. We judge other people based on how they sound, especially over the phone, right? Because you can't see anybody. So that's exactly why you need to work on your tonality. So you gotta record yourself, understand if you have a pleasant voice, especially in your opening line, and see whether or not that's something people can resonate with. If not, figure out what you need to change. And you can definitely change how you speak, right? Because there are things like how fast or slow you're speaking. You can also change your inflection, or how low you're speaking, how high you're speaking, right? And find a middle ground that makes sense for most people. And you can also control the volume you speak. So if you're speaking softly like this and people can't hear you, or you're speaking very loud, right? So all these different elements that you can use to control your voice till you find something that fits for you. For me, what I usually do is I like to keep my voice generally positive, especially on the first call, right? Slightly positive, not over positive where I'm so fake. Like, I'm not like, "Hey John, how's it going? This is Patrick from Microsoft." Obviously too fake. It's more like, "Hey John, this is Patrick from Microsoft. How you doing today?" Right? It's slightly positive, smile a little bit. And I like to keep it calm and cool so it's not too much energy. And then from there, I would just, figure out what their energy levels are and kind of match it. But in the beginning, I like to go, just like this. "Hey, how's it going, everybody? This is Patrick from Microsoft, and I want to take a moment to talk about this and that," right? And it's a lot more pleasing and more people are more receptive to it. So whatever your voice is, record it, see how you sound, and then just make sure it's something that it's palatable for most people. And then you just adapt it on the fly based on the person's energy level that you experience when you're on the phone. Now, the next tip that I have for you is you're gonna want to have a clear cold calling script. Now, for any type of script, when you write it down and you practice it, you don't have to go word for your script, because every person is gonna be different. How they react to different things will be different. So you're gonna have to adjust things on the fly. So the most important thing is to have a clear structure, right? The structure is going to be the most important for the cold calling script. Now, when I cold call, it's not like I go line by line. Maybe I know that my opening line, that pretty much doesn't change too much, not too much variation. But when I go through the different parts of my script, it's gonna change, here and there depending on how the person is reacting. But the format that I use is generally always the same, like 99% of the time. And this is the general format that I would recommend you guys use as well. The first thing you talk about, or the first thing you say, is your opening line, right? What's the first thing that catches them? So for me, it's, "Hey John, it's Patrick from Microsoft. How you doing today?" Right? That's my opening line. It works for me. It may not work for you because some people don't like to ask, "How are you doing today?" But it really just depends on your style and what opening line you want. So opening line is first. And of course, if something doesn't work for you, change it, right? You have different opening lines to see what works best for your style. The next thing in your cold calling script is you're gonna set your agenda, the reason for why you're calling the person. So I'll do opening line, then agenda. "Hey John, this is Patrick from Microsoft. How you doing today?" John says, "Oh yeah, I'm doing pretty good. What's up, man?" I said, "Well, I'm actually a little lost, John. Do you mind if I take a second to tell you why I'm calling?" John says, All right, sure. Then I would do my agenda right there, right? I would say, well, the reason I'm calling is because what I do is I help XYZ do XYZ. And the reason I'm calling you is because I want to take 5 minutes to learn about your business and see if I can help you in any way. Now, at the end of the call, if it makes sense for us to work together in some capacity, we could talk about that towards the end, but if not, totally fine. Is that okay with you? And then John will say, all right, sure, you have 5 minutes, what's up, right? And so that's my agenda. So typically what I would do in the agenda is talk about what I do, what value I bring, and what's gonna happen at the end of the call. So the prospect knows exactly what to expect during the call. They know the timeline is gonna be 5 minutes, so everyone's on the same page. From there, it's qualification questions, which is, I'm gonna ask them questions about their business to see if they're a good fit to buy my product. So I would say something like, I notice a lot of companies in your industry are typically doing recruiting processes very manually, where they're doing Excel sheets and it takes a lot of time and blah, 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 blah. And I was curious to know how you guys were handling your recruiting right now, right? And then so John will say, oh, we're using this software and that. And then you basically go into the qualification questions to see if they have a pain. If they have enough pain, then you would move into the next part of your sales cycle. But it's all about identifying pain. And then from there, it's your next steps, right? The next steps will be, okay, well, what's the next step? Do you want to do a presentation, demonstration, another call? You want to close the deal right there on, one call close? It really just depends what you're selling. So you just want to have a clear next step. So without diving too deep into every single one, the most important thing to understand is that there's a structure, right? There's the opening line, the agenda, qualification questions, and the next step. All my cold calls and what I teach people, they're always going to follow this order because that's logically what makes the most sense, right? You get them on the phone, you tell them why you're calling, you ask them questions, and then you move into the next step if they're qualified to buy it. I think no matter what you're selling, that doesn't change. So you wanna make sure your cold calling script has a clear steps every stage, right? You take them through stage number 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, when you do have those clear steps, the important thing to pay attention to is that, if you're doing cold calling and it's not working, understand at which step is it not working. Is it that your opening line is not strong enough and that 90% of the people don't want to listen to you? Or is that the opening line is good, the agenda is good, they want to listen, but then when you're asking your qualification questions, that's when you drop the ball and they're not interested anymore, right? Whatever piece is broken where they stop going through your sales funnel on your cold call essentially, that's the part you need to change, fix, A/B test, and see what's not working. Ask your peers, ask your manager, ask your anyone you can to review the calls and see how you can change those individual pieces. So this makes cold calling a lot more of a scientific process where if something's not working, you don't have to change your entire script. You just have to pick the element that isn't working, fix it, switch it out with something else and see if the rest works, right? Just because one part doesn't work doesn't mean another part doesn't work, right? It's just like these are all different pieces of a cold call script that you can rearrange. That actually leads us to the next step, which is to track your numbers, right? So like I said before, on a cold call, there's gonna be 4 main steps, right? And you can have different steps depending on your product and service. Maybe it's a little more complicated, but generally you have at least 4. And so for each step, you wanna track your numbers. So you wanna say like, okay, when I use this opening line of, hey, it's Patrick from Microsoft, how are you doing today? Maybe 50% of the people are positively receptive. Then so basically on a piece of paper, you just track it down if it's successful or not, right? You could do it on a CRM or software, Excel sheet, piece of paper, whatever works best for you. Now, just track it in some way, right? And from there, you might want to test it with, if you switch it to, just saying like, hey John, this is Patrick from Microsoft. I'm a little lost. You might have to take a second to tell you why I'm calling, right? Which is a slightly variation of that opening line. So maybe you might find, line number 2 works better in this industry than line number 1. But in this industry, line number 1 works better, so I'm gonna use this one, right? So by tracking your numbers, it's easier to A/B test your cold call so you can switch out different lines to see what works best for you. And without tracking, you're not gonna know what's gonna work best for you because you forget, you don't remember, and you just have an idea, but you're not really sure. But the numbers do not lie, so track your calls. Just do it in any way you can, whether it's on a piece of paper, right? If you're not a technology person, pen and paper, just track it down. Or if you don't want to keep a basic Excel sheet, Google Sheets, right? But if you're more sophisticated and you got CRM and things like that, use CRM. Whatever works best for you, as long as you just do it. Now, the next tip I have for you is you're gonna wanna warm up before your calls. Now, when I was working at Oracle and I was starting my sales career doing cold calls, what I would do is I would come in the office morning, I would have a little routine, right? I would warm up, I would stretch my body out, like literally, like if I was stretching to working out, I would do that in a private room at Oracle before my calls early in the morning so nobody would see me. And then I would warm up my voice. I would do things like la 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 la. Just, obviously I'm not a singer, but the voice is like an instrument that you're using professionally to generate money, right? So you gotta warm it up, or you can stretch out your mouth like with your tongue like, You know what I mean? We stretch our bodies, but how often do we stretch our face? So, these are the things that I personally did that helped me get in the zone of warming up. And for me, sales is like a sport, right? It's like a competitive sport that I'm paid professionally to do. So why not take it seriously like a sport, like an athlete, right? So in, whatever your way of preparing is, do that. Like I would literally do jumping jacks just to get my blood flowing and get everything going, or take a little walk around the park, outside of the headquarters, and then come back into the office, So whatever works best for you, that's what you do. If you like to meditate, if you like to do push-ups, if you like to, sing a song, or I don't know, everybody's different in how they warm up. So what may work for me may not work for you, but it could work for you if you give it a shot. So have some kind of routine before you actually do your cold call, so you're not coming in stale and you're not coming in like, oh my God, I gotta do a cold call. Like warm up your body, get ready for action, because you are a professional seller. And something really interesting is that as I make these videos for you now, I still do this similar warm-up process that I did when I was cold calling at Oracle, right? So, everybody has their own routines and what works best for them. Now, the final tip I have for you when it comes to cold calling is you want to have clear next steps at the end of the call. This is going to be extremely important, okay? In a cold call, right, it takes a lot of work to even get the right person on the phone. Then it takes a lot of work to get them through your sales process, to get them to listen to what you have to say. So at the very end, you do not want to mess it up, and that's why you need to have clear next steps. So if your job is to close on the first call, then close on the first call and make sure you try your best to get the job done. Or if the purpose of your cold call is just to generate another meeting, whatever the next step is in the sales process, whether it's a demonstration or some kind of pitch where you invite another person, whatever it is, make sure you know exactly what to do and what to say to get that person to the next step. You don't want to fumble on your words and be like, what do we do next? I'll call you back next week and we'll see what happens, right? Don't do that, please. At the end of the call, simple rule of thumb is you want the prospect to have a confirmed future next step, a confirmed future next action, whether it's a scheduled meeting or whatever it is, right? You need to book it on their calendar. So if your next step is to have a demonstration, you would say something like, hey John, do you mind if I make a recommendation? John says, sure. Well, based on everything that we talked about so far, it seems like you have some of these challenges, and I really believe that I can help you solve these challenges with my XYZ. So if it makes sense to you, I think what the next step should be is we can book another time to talk next week, where I'm gonna go through a presentation, short 30-minute presentation, where I'm gonna show you how we can solve these problems. So how does that sound to you, John? John says, yeah, that sounds pretty interesting. And I would say, okay, great. So how about we go ahead and schedule for Thursday, 9 a.m. How does that sound? John said, okay, that's fine. And I would also say like, hey, do you think there's anyone else on your end you need to involve, just to make sure we're all on the same page? And John might say, oh yeah, let me go ahead and invite my boss, because he's the one that's actually gonna make the decision. You say, okay, great. You can invite your boss. I'll go ahead and send your calendar invite right after this call. I'll send you an email recapping everything we talked about. And if anything changes, or you might need to change times and things like that, just let me know and we'll go ahead and make that happen. Sound good to you? John says, yeah, it sounds pretty good. So, if my next step was to schedule a demonstration, that's what I would do, right? But if your, let's say, next step is to close a deal, obviously what I'm gonna say is gonna be different to actually close that deal. So just be clear on what your next step is. Don't do maybes. In sales, you always want this. You either want a yes, you want a no, you never want a maybe. So if they don't wanna do another presentation, they don't think it's for them, great, don't waste any more time with them. But if they do want something, get that yes, get that commitment, move to the next step. You never want a maybe. When somebody says, maybe just call me back next week, maybe means they're not interested, or what are you gonna do? Chase them until they call you back, right? They're not gonna call you back. So get the commitment. You wanna know by the end of the call if they're interested or not. If they're not, fine. If they are, great, right? So whatever it is, you make sure you accept the yes, accept the no, but you never accept a maybe. And so with that said, those are gonna be my 5 cold calling tips. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. And if you wanna take your sales game to the next level and learn how to start and accelerate your sales career, I actually got a free training on how to do that. Link is in the description to check that out. With that said, my name is Patrick Dang, and I will see you guys at the next one.